I hope everyone had a nice small gathering. It's different, well, last year and this year. Anyways, come on in, everyone. We have a very important topic to talk about today. How to support your children at home so they can unmask. It's a super important topic, and this is part 2. Part 1 last week, I talked about the origins of masking, what was unconscious masking, which typically developed first in autistic children, and it can continue forever. And then it turns into conscious masking. But yes, so today is part 2. Come on in. All right, so I hope we have people to join me. I'm going to introduce myself again because we've been having new followers lately. So my name is Macy, and I'm the director of Catch Clinic here in San Francisco Bay Area. At our clinic, we only work for parents. Basically, I'm a parent coach. I've been doing that forever. And before I was a parent coach for 20 years, I started into this field working with autistic kids as a behaviorist. So for any of you guys who have a lot of questions about ABA principles and all that, I know a lot about it, and I can tell you why I left it. So I'm a former behaviorist, a relationship coach, and I am the founder of a nonprofit here called Autism Career Pathways. And our mission is to create the how-to resources to help employability for autistic adults as well as other neurodivergent adults. So that's me. I am also an autistic adult with sensory processing disorder and auditory processing disorder with number dyslexia, dyscalculia, and I have a couple of other things going on. So that's my introduction. So welcome, everyone. All right. So as you all probably know, autism and masking are often discussed. Hopefully masking is a topic that if you're a parent, you will read about it and hear about it. If you are a clinician or therapist working with kids, you should definitely know what masking is and why. So go back and check on part 1 from last Monday recording, IGTV. I talk in depth about that. And I wanted to start today with giving you specific examples of masking. How do you know when little kids mask? Can they mask? Yes, they can absolutely mask. How do you know? If you see your kids behaving differently with different people, that's definitely a sign that they are reading the adult in the room and they're adjusting themselves according to the adults. It's not good because in order to keep track of everything, like memorizing, how do I behave? How do I answer this question with this particular adult? What is expected of me? Your mind has to work extra hard. Can you imagine? I think it's stressful enough for adults, for a neurotypical adult to know if you go into an interview situation or if you are going to your in-laws' house and you're not looking forward to it. It's stressful enough for us as an adult to prepare ourselves emotionally and also to prepare which mask we're going to put on, right? Maybe you will dress differently. Maybe you will do certain things ahead of time. If you don't get along with your mother-in-law, for example, which is like, I know a lot of people probably have been there, and you're not looking forward towards the event, you're going to choose your mask to put on. That's different. That's your choice to prepare yourself and put on, change yourself, and to be able to face the situation, right? That's different. Autistic kids, they don't have that choice. They are basically trained over and over and over again to make adjustments to other people's standards. So if they have a teacher in the morning and they have speech therapists, they have ABA therapists in the afternoon, imagine how many times they have to mask, how to perform accordingly to the formula expected from each person, right? That's the scary thing when you think about it. If you put yourself in your child's situation in their shoes, that's what they have to do all day long, and it's exhausting. You have to, like, imagine if you have a Rolodex in your mind and you have to go through them. If this person is in front of me and this person is taking out this photo or asking me this question, which formula do I have to use? And you have to do that, like a new question or a new stimuli, new instruction pop-up will be presented every 2 minutes or so, right? So you just do the best that you can to survive that particular session with this person, or just from 8 to 12 in this loud environment at school where things go really, really fast, and I can't even understand what my teacher's telling me, and my friends are making lots of noises, and someone is crying over there, and the noise really bothers my ears. So I don't know what you're telling me. I don't understand it. I don't know what question goes with that particular picture, because a group of my peers are constantly distracting me, and yet when it's your turn, you have to perform, right? And then if you're wrong, then that stimuli, that picture, that question, that adult will repeat the same question to you. So masking in autistic kids and autistic adults certainly is a survival mode, definitely. You can call it social survival. You can call it just surviving the moment, and autistic kids don't have a choice. It's just the position they're put into by someone else. And so maybe for one adult guide who is more accepting and slower in pace, then you can process more. And usually kids feel like, if kids feel successful with an adult guide, you'll see them more relaxed, their guard down. So you'll see them, maybe from an outsider, for a parent's point of view, you might see it as a more productive session, that your child is less stressful with that particular adult. And that's really, really good. That's a good sign. Because there are accommodations given to this child, and therefore this child can be more himself or herself with this particular adult, right? Because if it's a stressful situation, you'll see more behaviors. You just also see maybe your kids more quiet in a particular situation or with a particular adult guide, right? So inconsistencies in how your child look to you, that's actually a sign a lot of times they have learned to mask. They have learned to fake it until you make it. And that's not good. Okay? Now, when you have to figure out which formula all the time, like in different situations with different adults, it's exhausting. It's a formula for sensory overload, formula for sensory shutdown, and formula for other things. Selective mutism, just stress, elevated stress. And imagine being given instructions like all day long with every single adult that your autistic loved one have to participate with, right? So keep that in mind. Let's see, other specific examples, like how do you know when masking is developing? Does anybody have any questions like about like is my child masking? Do you have any particular situation? You can type it in. Hi Sylvia. Right, so different behaviors at school, different behaviors at home, right? Because at school he has learned to mask, right? I think that following the rules, I think it's okay, but I think there is a point where if your child is learning in a way that is not consistent because it doesn't make sense. This is the other thing. Autistic people need context, right? So in the classroom, if it's a good classroom with great guides, they want to make sure at school as well at home also there should be a flow, right? Like just a family flow. Everybody has their routines and things you like to do at home, and at school it's the same way too. Of course, at school it's more structured because a few adults are trying to guide a bunch of kids, right? But what I'm concerned about is how they present the learning materials and learning instructions to the children, right? So to me, if a kid knows a picture of an apple only in that particular environment with that particular adult and also with that particular photo, that's not good. That's not teaching in context, and that's just more instructing. And even if your child can, it just happens to answer correctly, responding correctly, and the next day your child is not able to identify the photo of an apple, and then there's something wrong with the way just the materials are being taught. Okay, so the best kind of teaching and learning happens when we really take into consideration each person's learning preferences, and also when everything is being taught in context as much as possible. So if your kids behave differently at home and at school, if you see the report card or if you see the data fluctuates, that's not a good sign. Okay. Other examples of masking at school, autistic kids have to mask a lot because part of it they want to have they want to be accepted, they want to belong. So a lot of times if you have a child who's very happy, easygoing at home, and when they go to school, every recess they hide in the library, for example. Yes, it's a safe place. Or when I was a little girl, every dinner time I would bring a book to the table, because if you have sensory processing difficulties at the end of the day at a dinner table, it's really hard to process social chatter. So you just want to kind of shut it down, and hiding behind an activity, it's a way for you to kind of just pretend to be there and not exactly being there, if you know what I mean. So your kids are clever, and they will find ways to behave in a socially acceptable way, like hiding behind people, hiding behind an activity, or not saying anything because you don't want to get it wrong, or you don't want people to look weird at you. So there are different ways that people can mask as well. You can find articles on this, different ways that autistic people mask. I definitely really ask you to read about it. And imagine that you are in the classroom. If let's say you're autistic and you're being put in a neurotypical classroom, and you may not be able to realize yourself that, I need to get my books ready. I need to paint. I need to find this page ready on my own. You may not be able to do things independently, but you certainly feel that everyone else is faster than me. Everyone else is more capable to follow what's going on, and you're definitely feeling left behind. This is the issue with mainstreaming for autistic kids who are not ready to be mainstream yet, right? It makes you feel your inside, even though you can't communicate. Wait, I can't catch. Can you speak slowly? I can't find the page. Even though you can't say that, but you feel sad inside. You know what I mean? Because that gap, that you have that gap. And that's when you start faking it. As you get older, like if I didn't know how to read a ton of text, because I can't process auditory instructions with the text in front of me and have to take notes, I just couldn't do that. Multiprocessing has always been very hard for me. I have very poor working memory. I'm one of those people who need an alarm to set an alarm kind of thing. So a lot of your kids are always also there, and then they have sensory distractions and they completely lose track of what they were doing, so it's always playing catch up. So how do we mask? We don't ask questions, first of all. We don't admit to people that we actually don't know what's going on, right? We don't admit to people how we feel. Like, I feel really embarrassed that I'm behind, or I actually need you to tell me again what you were saying because I didn't understand what you're saying. So we basically hide. We just pretend. We pretend, like I used to do it all the time, like pretending that I'm like, maybe I will look like to my next door and see what page, or so on. So so that's the thing about masking, that this feeling like over the years that many autistic people, it's true what they say, you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know that you're autistic, for example, you don't know that you have ADHD, you don't know you have some challenges, then you don't know how to self-advocate. So think about it. Okay, so at home, so now we're moving on to what needs to be considered for our kids so we can help them to unmask, right? So what needs to be considered are their sensory differences. So in the classroom setting, there's really nothing you can do, I think, as parents, because it is what it is. You can't really control what the other students might be doing, or the noise level. You can't really do that. But it needs to be considered. Every IEP meeting, the sensory challenges need to be discussed. So Sylvia, for your son, if he has like sensitivity to sounds like me, consider allowing headsets, for example, noise blocker. There is this really good ear defenders, but it's called Loop, that it's very discreet. You can practice with your kids to put that in. You can actually still hear what people are saying. You can still hear sounds, songs, but it just blocks it takes the edge off. So that is something that needs to be discussed with the teachers at school, so that your child can feel like there's security, like I feel a little bit safer because the noise level is more reduced. So consider the sensory processing differences, whether it's tactile defensiveness, or if your child is not able to multi-process, for example. So you might see a child that covers his ears and he gets into trouble for not being able to practice, to follow along with the song, with the gestures, because if he uncovers his ears would hurt, for example. Now, a teacher needs to notice that and understand the sensory challenges behind it, not unwillingness or non-compliance. So anytime you guys hear people saying that, oh, your child is non-compliant or we have to work on compliance, you have please be careful. Be careful, because I can tell you the reason behind it, it's because there's sensory challenges behind it, sensory issues behind it. So you gotta be do the detective work and see if there is extra support that you can provide, especially in the classroom setting. Okay? Because that affects the ability to learn, that affects the ability to connect with other kids, and it takes your battery, it sucks your battery meter very, very quickly. So you're going to have a child who is very, very exhausted when the child comes home from school, and also as the week progresses, you see just more meltdowns at home. So remember, it builds up, right? Okay, so sensory processing differences. Okay, so here's another tip for parents and also professionals. I do hope that we have some teachers or therapists who will be listening to this recording. The therapeutic goals, you guys, it's very, very important. Not only how it's written, but if it's written from the point of we're trying to teach certain behaviors to make people surrounding this child to be able to make other people's lives easier, that's ableism. So we don't want those kind of goals. An example, I used to think when I was doing in-home therapy with kids, I used to think that I have to teach my client to sit down. It was a formula given to me. And if I don't do it, if I'm not able to get the client to sit in front of me, then this client wouldn't be able to listen. This client wouldn't be able to listen to me and wouldn't be able to be successful learning from me. That is not true. So autistic people, they do need to move. So for me to be able to do this in front of you, I've done my movement beforehand to prepare myself. And a lot of times during my work, I have my fidgets with me all the time to help me self-regulate. So think about it from that point of view. If you see that your client is have a lot of energy and movement, you have to figure out what can you do as the adult, as the guide, to change yourself to adapt to your client's needs. So this is very, very important. So therapeutic goals for parents, if there's a mention of eye contact. Autistic people and you as a neurotypical, you don't need to do eye contact, look at each other to connect and to understand each other. Okay, so eye contact shouldn't even be in there. If your client trusts you, if your child trusts you and feel regulated, the use of eye gaze just naturally just happen, right? So when you think about eye gaze, we look at each other because we're thinking about something and we want to share it with the person that we trust, because we're sharing a common thing together, whatever that may be, a book, maybe we're cooking together. So the eye contact doesn't need to be part of the equation ever. It should not be written into the IEP goals or any therapeutic goals at all, whether it's speech therapy, OT, like in-home program, or it should not be there, right? Good learning behaviors. Is it up to the child? No, it's up to us, the adults, how we present ourselves to the client. Are we being inviting, or are we being repetitive and unattractive to this child? right? So put it on yourself as the adult, whether you the teacher or the mom, or to what is it that I can do differently to adjust to my client's sensory needs, or just what's going on in the moment right now. And in order to do that, if it's not going well, if your child in front of you is so stressed out, then you have to just put away what you're supposed to be doing. Because you're not going to be, if you're stuck on the activity, you're stuck on the picture, you're stuck on your question, it's just not good. And that's how if you pursue it, you push for it, then you're going to get what? Power struggle. And you're going to put this kid into that survival mode. And that's how you teach this kid to mask for you. You don't want your child to mask for you. I don't want my child to mask for me ever. I want him to come home when he's like 21, when things are hard for him. I don't want him to pretend. I want him to be safe. He can always come home, right? So the therapeutic goals needs to be looked at, and also the delivery of those goals is very, very important. Okay. And for the therapists and clinicians here, I suggest that you just videotape yourself or audio tape yourself doing your sessions once in a while. You don't have to share it with anyone, but to just, instead of looking at the child, you look at yourself as the guide. Put the responsibility to us as the adult to see how are we communicating with a child. We want our autistic child to be able to communicate with us, but are we actually good communicator to them when we are with them? Are we presenting ourselves? Are we using all channels of communication? How is our energy level? At the end of the day, does it show that we feel tired and frustrated? Because that autistic client can sense it. And when the client says no, it's because the client feels our energy at the end of the day. So that's really helpful. If you work with kids, to just audio record or video record yourself using your phone to just learn more about what you can do when you do therapy with your kids, right? So focus on you instead of focusing on the client. Autism doesn't need therapy. So for all of you guys who are still being told, oh, we need to get rid of the stimming and so on, no, you work with it. Unless the stimming involves hurting other people or hurting the client, then it needs to be there. It's like your natural urge. You just have to do it, right? So that's important. So stimming is another one that autistic kids do. And when they mask, that means they know how to control it. But this is where at home we have to allow our kids to stim. If they're stimming by movement, if they're stimming by hand flapping or pacing, please allow your kids to do that, okay? Okay, rewards is another one, a big one, big one. Okay, so for the parents here, hi Anita, for the parents here, imagine your child is not with you most of the time, right? Because they're in school, they're in therapies, and you don't know what's going on inside the therapy room. You don't know what's going on in there. I can tell you for sure, two things that happens a lot in the therapeutic room is reward, meaning you do this and then you get this. That's pretty much across, like even occupational therapy, like there's a schedule usually. Here's what we're going to be doing. And then at the end of it, if you do all this, then you get this. Okay. And the other thing that also happens a lot is a few things that your child really, really love, whether it's iPad or Cheetos or food, whatever. It's being dangled in front of your child, right? And that happens. I mean, if you can work with professionals who will listen to you, and when you say, okay, please, I don't want to use food, or please, I don't feel comfortable with my child being rewarded, then what else can I do? So here's the thing, you guys. When I left behind behavioral therapy and switched to a relationship-based program, I struggled not being allowed to use rewards, because that means it's on me to develop that connection first. So I had to let go of the food reward. I had to let go of the scheduling. I have to let go of like the toys, the iPad. Nope, none of that. The visual schedules can be used, but there's no rewards attached to it. So it's on us. This works for parents too, at home, because I don't think we need to bribe. Our kids come home and then the bribing continue. Don't do that. Because for sure, when we bribe kids with the right carrot, not just any carrot, with the right carrot, that carrot is the few simple pleasures that our kids really look towards to, right? Then we're teaching our kids to mask. Why? Because they're going to tell themselves, I have to perform for this adult because I want that app on that iPad that's only available if I'm with person A. That's teaching masking. When you're teaching somebody to fake it, to make it, and I guarantee you this, that whatever that child's doing, performing, is very specific. That's why generalization for autistic children, it's tough. It's tough. Trust me, I've been there. I did, over 12 years of ABA therapy. And that's one thing that always, all those generalization, like hierarchies, we fall short because we're not helping our kids to be independent thinker, mindful thinker, because of the way we set expectations. We use a fix it mindset instead of really digging deep, and that whole process starts with us as the adult. Well, Sylvia, if that toy is only available during the therapy, then yes, you're teaching your child to mask or to perform just to get that toy. How about you tell the therapist, no toys. You get to know the child, you go with his flow, and that's how you meet halfway. It's about give and take, right? So if your child or your client feels safe with you, then you don't need rewards, because learning just happens naturally. You need to start with the connection first, then you won't need the tangibles. So it's the orders flipped. So the connection first. So when you call it pairing and all that, we shouldn't pair ourselves with toys. We pair ourselves because we love being there. We love being there. Like, okay, so for Sylvia, for you and me, because we're moms, we're parents, we love our children. We're connected with them, right? I mean, we don't have to use, hopefully we don't have to use rewards, and they'll just hang out with us. Hanging out meaning just sitting together and not saying anything, or taking a walk and not asking each other's questions because we're both tired. Can we be authentic with our autistic loved ones? So that's what we need, right? So So challenge your team to not use rewards anymore, to just really be playful, slow down, and introduce new things that way, right? And this is also if you're introducing an AAC device, a touch chat or anything like this. That's even so important, because if you're using an alternative communication device, you have to do it naturally in an inviting way. And the way I would do it is just model using it. Like for me, if I want to model a touch chat on an iPad and I'm hungry, I'm going to pick it up and use it. And my child would be next to me hanging out. I'm just going to use it and say, I'm hungry, I'm going to make a sandwich, like that, for example, right? And I'm not going to expect this child to sit next to me, to look at the iPad. No, because the moment you add other conditions, you just kill the purpose of, I want to use this app that's already hard enough for me to figure out, to let other people know what I'm thinking about. It's kind of scary when you think about it, that autistic people know more than you think, but they just don't want to share it with you, because then you'll ask them more questions, because they have to perform more for you, right? So I've had other, like, with my non-speaking clients, when they actually figure out how to communicate using sight words or using touch app, they're amazing. One kid actually said, okay, Macy, and he was typing. He said, okay, tell my mommy to color my room yellow because I don't like this color. And then he also typed, also, get rid of all these cards because I already know them. I'm so sick of them. He was typing them. Can you imagine that your children can actually, this is what's going on in their mind as you're doing your repetitions. And they're just inside, they're dying. They're saying, oh my God, I don't want to be with these people. I don't want to hear these questions. I don't want to use this iPad with the touch thing, even though I know the purpose of it, unless I absolutely have to. One of the non-speaking adults actually told, there was a video, if you don't believe me, I'll give you the video. So he was saying he went through years of ABA and he has apraxia. So with apraxia, it's very, very different, right? Because it's a speech disorder. And he explained how ABA expecting him to imitate over and over again, to say ah, say oh, say mama, say dada. First of all, it's out of context. Second of all, if you have apraxia, what you hear the output is very difficult because there's disconnect, right? So I have auditory processing disorder. So what I hear, there is a problem with the processing. So the output might not happen. And that happens all the time. Your kids probably have different variations of that. So going back to this non-speaking adult on this YouTube video, he was saying, the point that I realized the power of using an AAC device like touch chat. He said he had an ear infection. He had an ear infection. He was in pain. And finally, he forced himself to use it. So from that point on, he understood the power of having something reliable that you can use to communicate. But it's a two-part thing, guys. It's not just what your child wants. It's what your child wants you, the adult, to know. Right? So if you've taught your children to mask for years, that everything has to go by your roles as the parents, as the neurotypicals, they're going to just stay hiding. stay in hiding. They're just going to continue to put on different masks according to different people, whoever's in front of them. That's hard. It's very tiring. That's why autistic people are depressed. They can't function. They keep getting fired at work. This is why. Because masking takes a lot out of you. You can't sustain it because you feel very, very unsafe. So I want you to think about that. Rewards. So don't even get me started on when everyone says, oh, but everyone works for a reward. No, we don't. Autistic kids do. But as adults, what do we do when we have a hard day at work? What do? We come home, play with our phone, get a glass of wine, whatever. And what happens to autistic kids who come home after misbehaving at school? Because they can't keep their mask on any longer. So they have meltdowns. They come home, they get scolded even more. They get their PS4 time taken away from them. They get punished. Once at school, once at therapy, and again in the evening with us. That's not living. That's not raising an autistic child to be able to have positive autistic identity. All right. That was heavy, I think. I felt very emotional. I hope you don't mind because I feel very, very strongly about it. All right, let's do, oh my gosh, it's been 40 minutes. Sorry. Okay, unmasking at home. Some specific examples. How much you say, I'm talking to parents now. How much you say, come here and sit down, right? So be flexible. Let's say your child wants to eat in the family room instead of dining room. Be flexible. If your child has a hard day already as a family, do that. Turn on the TV and have dinner there. Be flexible, okay? The reason kids need a lot of screen at the end of the day because that's their way of self-regulating, okay? You could do that as a family. Whatever your child needs to self-regulate, you do it with them. So it becomes part of your family culture. It's accepted. Let's jump on the trampoline. Let's fidget together. Let's go pace together. Let's go out, whatever. Let's play your PS4 together. Okay? Secondly, again for parents, change who makes the rules. So ask your child, what do you want to eat? And if he wants to eat chicken nuggets every day, just let him be. Don't introduce new foods at the beginning of the school year or whatever. If he doesn't want to wear certain clothing, because when you're stressed out, you can feel your clothes becomes more prickly. That's what my son's saying. So just go with it. When they're at home, as parents, we go with their flow more. Okay? So I talk about eating. Okay, I'm going to try to pick it up. So now this is the how-to for parents. Okay, model and name winding down. So for parents. So I want you to use words like, I'm chilling. I had a tough day at work, but I'm chilling now. Come chill with me. So there are certain keywords that you can just use as a family. Everyone can use it. You can even say, oh, look, daddy's chilling in the backyard with his music or whatever. Use that. Okay. So chilling, if you're reading something, if your kids love to read, reading is great because you can get lost in, the graphic the graphic novel is a great one. And again, whatever your kids choose to read. So even if you have a 15-year-old who still likes to read the mouse book collection, fine. Go with it. Don't touch those books that your kids like to read. Okay, it doesn't matter if you think, oh, it's too juvenile for my child. No, don't touch it. So my son used to collect the Tintin books. He still has it. He also still has the mouse book. For people in America, you'll know that. If the mouse, what is it? If the mouse, it's a whole series. I can't think about it. He still has them. So I think when he needs his room, he's got a fort in there, and I think he reads those books. It's fine. Okay? So model and name winding down time, and really encourage everybody to do that. Okay, for parents, practice slowing down. So remember, your kids throughout the day, they're being made to go with other people's flow and schedule, right? Everything is scheduled. Do this, do this, do this. At school, imagine 6 hours of that. I don't even think I can handle it. So when they come home, you undo that. You read them, see how they feel. Yes, there you go. It's the most eat a cookie. There's a whole thing. There's a whole series. He still loves it. So I don't touch it because those kind of books really helps them to feel soothed. Okay, so practice slowing down. This is what it means. Not just the pace. You slow down the pace, yes. But also stop giving them instructions, because if you give them instructions, it's like deja vu, like school day, like doing school at home. You don't want to do it. So for parents, if you have too much homework, you have to come home and do homework. Talk to your teachers, talk to the IEP team, because our job as parents is to be mom and dad and not be homework assistant. So please work that out. Bring any comfort items. So at our home, everybody loves the soft blankets. Bring it to the kids. Cover them in it. Read books. That's the first thing you do after school. And read them. We are the ones who have to read them. Sometimes they're so flustered, we can't go get they can't go get the blanket, but we bring the blanket to them. Bring the book. Bring the snacks. Give them deep pressure. So deep pressure really helps. If I still live in Asia, I would get massage sessions very often, because that helps me so much. But if you have little kids, you can do deep pressure massage, put them in between two blankets or mattress and just roll them like a taco. And because that feels good to relax, the deep pressure. Okay, so practice slowing down. Okay, continuing. Give your kids space to unmask. That means, parents, knock before entering the room. If your kids are little, you still do that. It takes us a long time to work on it, because we need to respect each other's space. Okay, so please work on that. For therapists, you do the same, because respecting people's space is very important. Yes, decompress. I totally need to decompress, like in my own ways. Okay, knock before entering. So if they enter your room without knocking, you walk them out and knock on the door again, because then they will understand that applies to mom who needs to decompress. And that means if I feel overwhelmed, I can go into my fort in my room and people will not bother me without knocking. So we, as parents, knock on the door first. Okay? Work on it. It might take years, like me in our family, but I think he got it now. Okay. So give extra time to transition. Give extra time to transition, or remove the transition. Go with the flow. So who cares if you eat dinner a little bit later, or if you eat in a different room? Remove the transition if needed. Okay? Hi, Andre. Okay, join unmasking actions. This is for parents. I talk about this already, like stimming together, playing with the fidget toys. Fidget toys are actually helpful. It helps my son to be able to watch TV shows together as a family, because otherwise he will make noise. But if there are fidgets available, so as a family, have your own fidget box. One in a family, room, fidget toys in the family room, one in the separate room. So, but do it together, because if these things help your children to learn and to focus, if you do it as a family, it becomes part of your family identity, and there's no shame to do it. And when your kids are young adults working, I hope to God that every company will provide free fidgets for everyone and standing desks for movement breaks. It's a universal design. That's what Autism Career Pathways want to work towards, to educate companies to create a universal design. Yes, so that was the end of my slide. Okay, questions, you guys. I did it. Okay, so what happens after my Zoom? I'm done. Like after this, my brain just shut down. You know, so imagine your kids having to focus and keep track of things and not get distracted. So I have ADHD. It's very hard for me to, I have notes, like papers everywhere. It takes a lot to prepare to be able to perform and be able to do this. And your kids are little kids, right? And their mind is built differently. Autism is a different neurotype, is a different information processing, it's a different engine. Yeah, you should definitely fidget. I wish that my son is not embarrassed to fidget at school, actually, because he doesn't want to do it, because he got into trouble when he was 5 for just not being able to sit still, not being able to cover his ears when his ears hurt. He had to like clap along everyone else. I mean, he did get over it, but sensory breaks, he doesn't want to do it at school. Unfortunately, he has learned to mask. So at home, he makes bird noises. I repeat. We do our sim together and we joke around about it. My daughter can tell you about having an autistic mom, but I love to have these conversations with her because she has neurodivergent friends. Yeah, there's no hiding. That's the best way. I think clinicians should fidget with your kids, right? Although with COVID, you have to spray everything. So you don't want to share germs. But if we can instill the culture of sensory breaks, sensory tools, sensory toys as early as possible, we teach teachers to allow it in the classroom. I think everybody should have a bag with these kind of fidgets. So it's customized fidgets for every student. That will be game changer. I don't have the loop. I'll do another Instagram for the ear loop thing that I started using, and that's really helpful. Because that's a tricky one. Some of them just stick out. You can get cheap ones from Amazon, but it sticks out and comes out and makes you look like Shrek. So that, but you want good ones. So I found a good company from UK. It's not terribly expensive, and you can actually teach your clients to wear it early, very young. So that's a game changer to distract yourself from sensory, like auditory sensory input. So it's not a guarantee that you can focus, but I think it helps. This is why I don't have to use this, right? But if I use it, I can stay focused more because I can kind of block out the noise from around me. So that's why I use it, even though when I'm done, it's not good for my brain, but it is what it is. You know, it's a give and take kind of thing. So do you have any questions? I can tell you, if you have questions about sensory issues, I can tell you from my own lived experiences how it feels. But I understand some of your clients, some of your kids have very extreme sensory needs. This is where you can find neurodiverse. See, I've lost my words. Neurodiversity affirmative occupational therapists. There you go. Where they design a personalized sensory like program, sensory diet program for you. But at the end of the day, it's just a piece of paper, and unless parents can really observe what the child needs and to be able to tweak it. So just keep that in mind. Okay, I think I covered, yeah. Yeah, everyone needs to decompress. Actually, everyone has a sensory profile, right? Okay, so I'm very happy. I know I have some ABA therapists, and I have Miss Halim, who's an awesome teacher and school principal. So thank you for being here. And I hope that you guys keep coming to my, do you guys like this time, 5 p.m.? Because I think if I do it Monday morning, it's kind of tough. So does this time frame work if I do like Monday Life IG at 5? Does that work better for everyone? Because I could just keep this like Monday afternoon as a standard time, I think, right? So this way people from the East Coast can come, people from Asia can come. And where are you, Beauty and Behavior? Where are you at? Are you in the East Coast or California time zone? Yeah, so if it works for you guys, I will keep it this time. And, you know, I'm a very, very direct person. So, oh yeah, Arizona. Is that the same time zone? I don't even know. So, yeah, so I will keep it at this time. And just to let you know, I am very, very direct. I can seem like very explosive, not because I'm being rude, because I'm just very passionate about what I say. So how I say it, I don't mean to offend people. So if you're in here, bring your friends, just tell them, I want you to ask me questions and I will try to answer calmly. But even when I'm not calm, it's hopefully you don't see it as that I'm trying to offend you because that's just how I am. Okay. All right. So, okay, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I will try to bring a guest next time to continue to talk about masking, but I hope this is helpful for parents. Parents, help your children to unmask. Please, 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 please. Okay. All right. Bye.